Hello, Jonas. It is Yasmin, and today we will be discussing 1984 by George Orwell. So, 1984 is a dystopian novel and cautionary tale by the English writer George Orwell, and it was originally published June 8th, 1949, by Secker and Warburg as Orwell's ninth and final book completed in his lifetime. Let's get started. The main character in the book is Winston Smith. He's a subordinate member of the ruling party residing in London within the country of Oceania. He lives under constant surveillance by the party through telescreens, even in his own home. The image of Big Brother, the party's seemingly all-knowing leader, looms wherever Winston looks. In Oceania, the party governs everything, including history and language, and they even mandate an invented language called Newspeak. And this Newspeak eradicates words that are associated with defiance. Even contemplating rebellious thoughts is outlawed, known as thought crime, considered as one of the most severe transgressions. Winston feels stifled by the party's oppression, prohibiting free thinking, personal expression, and even intimacy. He's discontented with the party's control, and Winston acquires a diary to write down his forbidden thoughts. Although he knows the risks, he feels that it is important for him to practice this. He becomes fixated on O'Brien, suspecting him to be a part of the elusive Brotherhood, an underground group that opposes the party. Winston is employed at the Ministry of Truth, where historical records are manipulated to suit the party's agenda. Winston grows suspicious of a co-worker, a dark-haired woman, fearing she might expose his thought crime. He grapples with the party's historical distortions, particularly concerning alliances and adversaries. His nightly excursions into impoverished areas inhabited by the proles, free from the party's scrutiny, serve as an escape for Winston. His life changes when he receives a note from the dark-haired girl named Julia. As she confesses her affection, the note says, "I love you." They embark on a secret romance, cautious of surveillance. Their relationship deepens as they rent a room in the Prole district. This room is above a shop that Winston used to frequent. So Winston is convinced that they will face repercussions and get caught, but despite his outlook on this situation, Julia remains hopeful. As their love grows, so does Winston's animosity towards the party. Winston and Julia finally meet up with O'Brien, and O'Brien claims that he is in an allegiance with the Brotherhood, which is the so-called rebellion. And he presents Winston and Julia with Emmanuel Goldstein's manifesto. Emmanuel Goldstein is the so-called leader of the Brotherhood. O'Brien reveals himself as a party loyalist, and they also find out that Mr. Charrington, the one who they would rent the room from, was also part of thought crime police. And Julia are then sent to the Ministry of Love, where they face extensive torture and brainwashing by the party. And their fear is that they get sent to room 101. And in room 101 is when Winston succumbs to his deepest fear of rats. Betraying Julia, he says, "Don't do it to me, do it to Julia." Broken and devoid of resistance, he is released, embracing and loving Big Brother and having complete surrender to the party's indoctrination. So Orwell wanted to show how scary a government with total control or totalitarianism can be in 1984. Throughout Winston, the main character and protagonist, we get a glimpse of this scary world. He tries not to lose who he is and thinks a lot about why the government has so much power. This helps us see how bad things are because of the party, Big Brother, and thought police. Unlike Julia, who rebels just for fun and her fun and for her own personal pleasure, Winston thinks deeply about why things are so bad and how they got that way. This lets This lets Orwell talk about things like how words control our thoughts, how people get manipulated, and why knowing history is very important. Winston is known for being a rebel and feeling like he's doomed. Winston hates the party and tries to challenge it in many ways, like writing against it in his diary and having a secret relationship with Julia. But trying to be free just shows how strong the party really is. In the end, Winston's rebellion doesn't work and he becomes a loyal follower of Big Brother. So Winston thinks he can't escape without being caught by the party, and this makes him take risks, even though he knows that it could get him in trouble. He keeps rebelling, even though he thinks he'll get caught no matter what. He makes himself believe there's a chance, even though he knows it's not true. This makes him feel a little bit more in control of his destiny. Julia is Winston's partner, the only person he knows shares his hatred for the party and desires to rebel against it, and the only person that we, the readers, know of. While Winston is restless, resigned to fate, and worries about bigger social problems, Julia is more sensual, practical, and logical, and content to enjoy the present without dwelling on the future. So Winston dreams of joining the Brotherhood and reading Emmanuel Goldstein's complex ideas, but Julia focuses more on the pleasure and making practical plans to evade the party. Winston thinks that their relationship won't last due to his fatalistic outlook, while Julia is adept at the smaller rebellions, having had affairs with party members and striving to avoid getting caught, though her involvement with Winston leads her to her capture. Julia contrasts sharply with Winston. Besides their shared sexual attraction and disdain for the party, their characteristics are mostly different, if not conflicting. While Orwell dives deeply into Winston Smith's personal life, the reader's insight into the party's life is limited to what Winston perceives. Consequently, many aspects of the party's internal mechanisms are remained unexplained, such as its origins, the identity, and motivations of its leaders. The aura of mystery revolves around O'Brien, a powerful member of the inner party who deceives Winston into believing that he belongs to the Revolutionary Brotherhood. O'Brien initiates Winston into the Brotherhood, but later reappears in Winston's prison cell to manipulate and brainwash him in the party's name. During this ordeal, O'Brien, perhaps as a form of psychological torment, confesses that his supposed allegiance to the Brotherhood was a ruse to entrap Winston into a blatant act of disloyalty to the party. This revelation casts further ambiguity over O'Brien's character. Instead of evolving, O'Brien seems to regress, leaving the reader with less understanding by the novel's end than previously presumed. So when Winston questions if O'Brien had also been captured, O'Brien cryptically responds, "They got me long ago." Statement might suggest that O'Brien himself was once rebellious and was tortured into submissive compliance with the party. Alternatively, it could imply that O'Brien pretended to empathize with Winston just to gain his trust. Similarly, the novel leaves uncertainties about the Brotherhood's existence, whether it's real or just fabricated by the party to ensure the population has a common enemy. 1984 doesn't offer definitive answers, leaving O'Brien as a shadowy, symbolic mystery within the elusive inner party. Big Brother holds the highest authority in Oceania. As the party's leader, a revered war hero, a skilled inventor, and a philosopher who initiated the revolution that brought the party to power. The party strategically employs Big Brother's name and image to instill both loyalty and fear amongst the population. This iconic figure is prominently displayed on coins, telescreen, and posters all across the city, carrying the slogan, "Big Brother is watching you." While these aspects about Big Brother remain undisputed, much of his character is undefined and subject to alteration. Even with the narrative of the novel, Winston's job involves modifying historical records to align past statements attributed to Big Brother with the present party's agenda, suggesting that Big Brother serves as a tool serving the party's current objectives. Despite Big Brother's immense influence, he never physically appears in the story, and Winston never engages with him directly. Even during a scene where Big Brother speaks at the 2 minutes hate, the actual content of his speech is omitted, and Winston notes that no one seems to be paying attention to it. The mere idea of Big Brother is enough to induce fear amongst the population, and the absence of any tangible encounter may enhance his effectiveness as a leader. Throughout the book, several instances suggest that Big Brother might not be a real person or may have ever existed. When Winston discusses Big Brother's nature with O'Brien while detained in the Ministry of Love, O'Brien asserts Big Brother's existence as an embodiment of the party. However, when Winston questions if Big Brother could die, O'Brien dismisses the notion, further solidifying the idea that Big Brother is a symbolic representation rather than an actual individual. Mr. Charrington is a widowed owner of a second-hand shop in the Pearl District of London. He's described as approximately 60 years old, frail, with white hair and prominent black eyebrows. So Winston speculates that Mr. Charrington might have had a past as a writer or a musician, noting his speech to be less corrupted than the other proles. Mr. Charrington shares Winston's curiosity about London's history because of a valuable resource aiding Winston in his rebellious acts against the party. He sells Winston the empty book that's used for his diary, and the glass paperweight symbolizing an untouched past. Additionally, Mr. Charrington rents the room where Winston and Julia conduct their affair. Similarly to O'Brien, Mr. Charrington undergoes a significant reassessment later in the novel when it's revealed that he's a member of the Thought Police. This revelation reshapes all previous interactions with Winston. Contrary to the perceived sympathetic connection to Winston's rebellious spirit, Mr. Charrington was in fact a manipulative agent of the party setting traps to test Winston's loyalty. When Winston uncovers that Mr. Charrington's true identity, his appearance dramatically changes. He no longer looks 60, but now he looks much younger, around 35, with black hair, no wrinkles, and a more imposing and alert demeanor. This transformation symbolizes the chilling capacity of the Thought Police to disguise themselves and infiltrate the lives of the party members. This pivotal revelation occurs as the story transitions from Winston's relatively happier time in Book 2 to the nightmare and torture and horror of Book 3. Emmanuel Goldstein is initially portrayed as the enemy of the people, who was once a high-ranking party member turned into a traitor, forming the rebel group known as the Brotherhood to oppose the party's regime. Goldstein, much like Big Brother, is likely a manufactured figure by the party to evoke fear and deter rebellion amongst citizens. He serves as an enemy for the party to blame for any harmful actions, functioning as a convenient scapegoat. Goldstein's primary role in the novel revolves around the supposed authorship of the theory and practice of oligarchical collectivism. The book reveals the party's methods of control and proposes a strategy of rebellion. However, it's later revealed that the book was not authored by Goldstein, but created by O'Brien, the party loyalist, as a deceptive tool. So 1984 actually differs from typical dystopian novels as it draws from George Orwell's real-life experiences. Orwell's novel is convincing because it mirrors events he witnessed. For instance, the slogan 2 + 2 = 5 was derived from Soviet propaganda symbolizing the government's manipulation of the truth. Orwell's involvement in the Spanish Civil War and his disillusionment with the Communist Revolution deeply influenced 1984. The novel reflects historical events like the Great Purges in the Soviet Union, mirroring the brutality and surveillance and execution without trial. The book also echoes Hitler's rise and the power of mass media, illustrated through intrusive surveillance and propaganda similar to Nazi methods. Orwell's narrative of war in the novel reflects as an aftermath of World War II and the looming fear of another conflict, as well as references to nuclear-powered wars inspired the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The concept of these three superstates and everyday life experiences in wartime London, such as food rationing, bombings, are drawn from Orwell's observation and personal encounters during World War II. These real-life connections contribute to the chilling and authentic portrayal of the dystopian 1984. Reading 1984 for me personally was very thought-provoking, and it plunged me into an hauntingly vivid and oppressive world. The novel's ability to craft a chillingly realistic story, where the surveillance and propaganda and control were omnipresent, left inevitable impact on me. The feeling of dread and unease grew as I read with each page, as I dived deeper into the dystopian reality of Oceania. The character of Winston Smith served as a relatable figure for me, and his gradual awakening to the corruption of the party's power was both captivating, unsettling, and rather nerve-wracking. I found myself immersed in Winston's internal struggle against the party and suppression, feeling a sense of empathy and connection to his quest for individuality and truth. The novel's themes of manipulation, government control, and the dangers of totalitarianism struck a chord, especially as I reflected on its parallels with historical and contemporary societal structures. Orwell's foresight in predicting how technology could be used as surveillance and manipulation felt very eerily relevant in today's world, especially if you're someone like me who believes in conspiracy theories. Moreover, the book's climax and the ultimate fate of Winston Smith left me haunted. The sense of hopelessness and the crushing realization of the party's power lingered long after I finished the final page. The impact of Orwell's warning against the erosion of freedom and the manipulation of the truth in society left me introspective and contemplative about the state of our own reality. Overall, 1984 was more than just a novel. It was an eye-opening experience that challenged my perspectives on societal structures, surveillance, and the importance of safeguarding individual freedoms. Jonas, I know you asked for us to choose a paragraph and delve into it, but instead I am choosing a phrase. So my phrase is, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength." The paradoxical statement is a prime example of the party's use of doublethink, a concept central in the novel's theme. Let's discuss it. First is war is peace. This phrase demonstrates the manipulation of language and the distortion of the truth by the party. The slogan suggests that perpetual war ensures a false sense of peace and stability within the society of Oceania. It implies that through conscious conflict and external enemies, the party maintains control and unity amongst its citizens, presenting war as a means of maintaining societal order. So next is freedom is slavery. Here, Orwell illustrates the party's control over the minds of the citizen by warping the meaning of freedom. The party propagates the idea that absolute freedom or individuality leads to chaos and personal enslavement. By adhering to the party's ideologies and sacrificing personal beliefs, citizens are supposedly liberated from the burden of making choices and ensuring their safety and security. Ignorance is strength. This phrase emphasizes the party's desire to control information and manipulate knowledge. By promoting ignorance and suppressing critical thinking, the party maintains its power. It suggests that a lack of knowledge or understanding shields individuals from the complexities of reality, making them more resilient and committed to the party's ideas. The use of these contradictory slogans in the novel highlights the totalitarian regime's ability to twist language and logic, illustrating the dangers of a society where truth is malleable and where citizens accept contradictory beliefs without question. These slogans reflect the party's efforts to maintain control by distorting reality and suppressing independent thought as a key aspect of the dystopian society in 1984. Jonas, I hope you like my video. So the genres are science fiction, dystopian fiction, political fiction, and social science fiction. Thank you, Jonas. Bye. Hope you like it.